are back. It is Personal Health Care Reform Talk Show, episode number 3. And as you can see, the green screen is still just incredible. We're actually coming from Results Protein and Nutrition with my friends over here, and we're going to talk to them here in a little bit. But first off, we got health in the news because we got to talk about the news because there's a lot going on in the news right now. First off, Dallas Morning News, because we are in Dallas, and it's sunny in Dallas, which is nice. It's supposed to be 64 today. Hopefully 64 where you're at, because this is going to be great. First one, since we're here, let's talk about some doctors and saving money. Great article talking about how oversight on doctors right now is actually costing a lot of money because most doctors can only see you for one thing at a time. So if you've got multiple things that you're dealing with, you've got high blood pressure, you've got disease, diabetes, multiple other things, you got a little spot on your head, you got to get that checked out. They can only see you for one thing and charge you for that one thing. That's why you keep on having to go back to the doctor every time something new comes up, because they can only see you for one. So there's a guy here in Dallas, one of the local doctors. This guy right here is actually helping out with going over those regulations and getting to change the regulations so doctors can see you for anything and everything, which is going to save you a lot of money, so you can go in, see them one time, not be there for just 5 minutes while they write you a prescription and get you out. They actually sit down, they work with you and figure out what's actually going on, hopefully reduce the medications you're taking, which will save us a lot of money. But that's the main thing on this story, which comes back to trusting the doctors and not trusting some regulators up in Washington figuring out what's best for you, because they don't have a clue. They're not sitting down there with you. That guy is. The doctor is. So, a really good article on that. I will put more of that on the blog. Next thing up, growth in medical spending slows down as consumers pay more. Why is that? Well, mostly because more people are out of work, which means there's more people without health insurance, which means everybody that has health insurance is having to pay more for their health insurance right now. Having to pay more for medications, pay more for everything. So for the few of us that have coverage, we're paying a lot more for that coverage, and we're actually getting a whole lot less for that. So that is the main bend behind that. Basically talks about, average spending is about $8,400 per person. That's actually down from what it was a couple of years ago, which is a good thing or a bad thing, because part of that means people that are taking medications are having to cut medications in half. They're taking less of what they're supposed to be taking, things like that. So it's not always a good thing. However, the main thing is to try and get that medical spending down, which, if you refer back to that last article, if you trust your doctor and the doctor gets to see you, we can get those costs to come down a lot better. One other interesting article in here I want to share with everybody. For anybody that is a smoker and trying to quit smoking, sorry, wrong paper. Let's pick this one back up again. If you're a smoker, you're trying to quit smoking, and of course you're chewing the gums and you're taking the patches and you're doing all that stuff to try and quit smoking. I am still with the wrong paper. That's not going to help. Well, here's the story. Basically, people that do the nicotine patches, all that stuff, they did a full randomized study on this. 1/3 of the people that did all that ended up quitting smoking, things like that. The main thing that actually helped out with people quitting smoking, it's not the patches, it's not the gum and everything else. That helps out with nicotine cravings, which, if you don't know this, nicotine is not the bad stuff in cigarettes. Nicotine is actually somewhat good for your system, healthy for your system. It's all the stuff that you're breathing in with the smoking. But if you're trying to quit smoking, go get some therapy, okay? Go see a hypnotist. Seriously, trust me on this. See a hypnotist and get them to change this thing up here, because until this changes and how you relate to that cigarette and your addiction to it, you'll never get off of it. You'll always go back, especially for people that are smoking 1+ packs a day. That was the biggest kicker. Less than a pack a day, they could break the habit pretty quickly, but over the pack a day, that was kind of the breaking point of you'll always go back until you start fixing this thing up here. So that's the big thing on that story. And speaking of mental clarity and keeping things straight up here, optimism is a huge thing. So big, Dallas Morning News did a whole article on optimism, about glass being half full, and attitude matters. So they gave 12 great tips on here about attitude and how it matters, and also how to survive the gym crush, because it is January, everybody and their dog is in the gym. I'm sure everybody's seen articles already coming out saying people are starting to fall off track. They're starting to stop, starting to quit going. Don't quit going. If you're tired, if you're hurting, back off a little bit, just don't stop, okay? I did one of my vitamins on that, talking about how important rest is. But attitude matters. Here's a few things on this. One, you'll be healthier. Yes, you will, because if you think healthy, you will be healthy. You'll be more resilient. Well, if you're happy, nothing's really going to bother you that much, especially if you're always optimistic. If you always see the good side of everything, it helps out. You'll be more forgiving, less stressed. Well, if you're happy, you're always going to be less stressed. You'll change your focus. If you're being optimistic, you're thinking about the future, thinking about good things, you're always going to be going further ahead. If you're thinking about bad things, more bad things will happen. It's kind of thinking about karma in that sort of way. Your genes don't determine your attitude, even if those genes are really tight. That just means you need to do more positive things. Speaking of the other genes, these genes that make you up, genetic things really only account for 1% of what's happening to you. 1%, that's what the genes account for. 1%, that's it. Don't blame your genes. You can fake it till you make it. No, actually you can't. If you're faking it, you'll never make it. That's the only point I like in this one. If you believe it, you will make it. If you believe it, you can see it. So you got to believe it so you can go forward. If you're faking it, it ain't gonna happen, guys. Sorry. I knew somebody in the past used to use that line all the time. It drove me nuts because you can't fake it. People will see through it. Let your thoughts flow by. Well, there you go. Meditate. Definitely take some time, morning, night, noon. Meditating doesn't mean sitting off in a corner humming some hymns and things like that. That means just giving yourself some quiet time. It might be reading a book. It might be popping out and playing some PlayStation for a little bit, okay? Just getting your mind off the daily stresses. Assume nothing. Everybody knows. Assuming means you make an ass out of you and me, okay? So quit assuming, because whatever you assume is never going to happen. Trying to take everything personally, which is tough because everything is personal, including business, because if it's your business, it's personal. Number 11, remember the magic trio. Exercise, sleep, and breathe. I'm going to add a fourth one in there. Eat. You got to eat, okay? Food rebuilds you. Make sure you're having the good stuff. And express gratitude. Thank everybody for everything, which I will say right now. Thank you for watching. I love you for watching. Keep watching the show because more big things coming. Speaking of big things coming, you see this stuff here, TRX. We're going to talk about this later on in upcoming shows. We're going to talk about kettlebells and all that fun stuff later on. We will hit that later. That's a preview for you. But I'm going to break out with the hot list. This is going to be something new that I'm going to do. If you haven't been to the Facebook page, go to PHCR.CBFit on Facebook. Click that little like button for me because, well, here's what you're going to get. This is the hot list. This is the newest items I've got on there. All right, new health insurance regulations could end health savings accounts and cut out complementary and alternative medical coverage. That's a big story I posted on there from Natural News. Check that one out because this stuff is actually coming. If you have a health savings account, it's going to be gone in 2 years potentially if we don't fight to keep those things in there. FDA decides they will not restrict the use of antibiotics in animal feed. If you don't know this, 80% of antibiotics used to date go into animal feed. So if you don't eat organic, you need to because they don't use that crap. Part of the problem with this is you've got all the antibiotic resistant bacteria out there. There's a reason for that. It's because antibiotics is present everywhere. Those bad bugs are smart. They know how to get around it. Okay, they've been around for millions of years. We're not going to kill them off with a couple of antibiotics here and there, especially with overloading it. Minnesota court rules that organic farmers can sue GMO and for GMO and pesticide contaminants coming into their fields from other areas. This is huge. This is a big win for organic farmers, and that's going to be a huge thing coming up in the next couple of years, especially next year. It will be hitting the Supreme Court with things like that, things about raw milk, which we'll talk about raw milk in later shows. And the big one, since we're here and you see everything behind us, all the supplements, since we're going to be talking about supplements, here's a couple of things for you to look at. There's a thing called the Codex, Codex Alimentarius. They're using this over in Europe. It is basically decimating supplements over there. They're trying to get it over here. We're fighting to keep that from happening. There's been 5 things that tried to pass in the past year that point back to that. None of it's passed. Thank God. I'm really happy it hasn't passed so far. Supplements regulations. Supplements are regulated. If anybody tells you supplements are not regulated by the FDA, they're lying to you. FDA has full oversight over everything that you see back here, okay? If something is causing troubles, deaths, heart attacks, whatever, they can pull it off the shelf. Now, that never really happens, but if they have any inkling of anything, they do pull things off the shelf, just like that. They have full oversight over everything you see back here. That was actually put in place through the DSHEA. That was put together back in 1994, which is why we have all the supplements we have today. With that is the health and news. Come back, join us in a little bit. We're going to do the interview segment with Ronnie here at Results Protein and Sports Nutrition. Thank you. See you in a little bit.